Welcome everyone to Chamber Live. For those of you that are joining us again, welcome back. For those of you joining us for the first time, hello, it's great to see you. The purpose of the event really is just to give an insight really to some of the things that's going on at the Chamber from the point of view of new services, some of the partners we're working with, and also some of the research work we've done as well, which we'll come on to in a minute. We are recording the event. We've got a video of it as well as the sound recording, and we'll be putting those up as a podcast and also on our YouTube channel in the next 24 hours. So if there's something that somebody said or you want to watch again or just find out a little bit more information about, please look at that. If you want to also let other people, other colleagues, other associates know to watch something, then we'll make sure that you can send that link through as well. As ever, the chat box is up and running. So if anybody's got any questions or comments, please put it in there. We'll try and get through as many of those as possible over the next 35 minutes or so. Anyway, first up, I think he was on leave a couple of weeks ago at our last Chamber Live event. So we did miss his unique insight and explanation of some of the things that's going on. But our first speaker is going to be our head of research, Subra. Subra, good morning.
Good morning, Chris, and good morning, everyone.
That's okay. Subra, last week or over the last few days or so, there was British Chambers of Commerce survey results that came out looking at the impact of Brexit and COVID, the two biggest things probably impacting business at present. What just as a sort of summary, what were the results saying about businesses and particularly businesses in Greater Manchester? How are they being affected by what's happening at present?
Yes, thank you, Chris. Yeah, so there was this this British Chambers of Commerce survey which took place in the second half of January. And it was primarily to assess two things: the economic fallout from the third national lockdown and the set of restrictions that we had leading up to the festive season, but also, of course, this milestone event that took place at the very end of December, which is the UK leaving the EU, but then also securing a deal. And so the upshot of the results, no surprises on the core economic fallout. Clearly, the festive trading season has been a weak one. It was slightly worse than expected in terms of retail sales and so on. And so the balances relating to both domestic demand and international demand have gone slightly down. But the other important aspect is, of course, in terms of the sustainability of many businesses, cash reserves, and so on. On that, the picture has not changed significantly. So roughly 40% of businesses are still reporting that they only have enough cash reserves to see them through a 3-month period. But the remaining 60% have cash reserves to last them beyond the 3-month period. So there are clear concerns because we are now coming up to nearly 1 year since the first lockdown was implemented. We have had business support measures. The take of business support measures has been good. Some restrictions that had previously been put in on the furlough scheme, etc., have been relaxed slightly, so new employees can still go into the furlough scheme and so on. So the message from the results, so far as the COVID economic fallout is concerned, is this: the UK government should not bring in restrictions at this time. This is not the time to actually cancel the support measures which are already available to businesses. Some of those support measures will probably need to be in place for slightly longer. So the furlough scheme is due to end on the 30th of April, as per current plans. I think that is probably too early. Many businesses, especially in the worst affected sectors, will not be back to normal before the 30th of April. So those measures will need to continue slightly beyond that 30th of April deadline. On the Brexit issue, the headline findings are that some businesses are saying, of course, it is too early because the field work was conducted in the second half of January, so it was slightly early. But then the experience of the first 3-4 weeks has been that nearly half of exporters are struggling to make the adjustment with the additional compliance requirements, with the extra paperwork that they need to now fill in and complete before they can actually ship goods. So particularly, we were focused on goods because of all of the challenges at the border, but also the additional paperwork, new compliance requirements, new audit requirements, etc. And those adjustments are going to be expensive for business in terms of the steep learning curve, as I call it, to adjust to these new procedures, but also the additional bureaucratic requirement of filling in 6-7 sheets of paper to ship even the smallest quantity of goods.
A couple of weeks ago, we had, I think it was Lewis and also Susanna on as well, and we've spoken about this as well, about the number of queries we're getting from businesses about that. We've not seen any slowdown in that, haven't we? Not. It's not been a case of businesses suddenly, after a few weeks getting used to this. We've not seen any slowdown in those numbers of queries.
No, we have not seen any slowdown in the queries. So, the tracker spreadsheet that we are maintaining is now well into 300 plus, and probably the same margin by which England lost the test this morning. So that's it's not a football analogy. It's a cricket analogy. It's just keeping
anyway,
up.
Still, thanks. No, go on then. Sorry, go on.
So, that's where we are. The significant amount of inquiries coming in.
Yeah.
And if you look into the themes that these inquiries fall under broadly, VAT issues are top of the list. Questions related to rules of origin are again, top of the list. And the third area where those inquiries are coming in are all related to compliance, paperwork. What do I need to fill in to actually get these goods across the border? Those types of questions are what we are facing with at this moment.
Yeah, and all that is adding extra cost, extra time, extra resource for businesses to do trade with the EU, and I think that's important. I know I've spoken to a couple of businesses whereby they've got customers outside of the EU as well as inside the EU, and it's the ones in the EU that's causing the most problems. Everything else is carrying on around this. If you're shipping goods or whatever it is to the States, it's virtually carry on as you were, but obviously the big upheaval is around those new rules around the EU. Just one final thing, Subra. There was a series of ONS, Office of National Statistics, numbers results released at the end of last week for growth. Well, not really growth in the UK for last year, and also some indication as to the current state of the economy or whatever. Anything surprising in those numbers? There's a 9.9% drop in growth in the UK last year. I guess we were really expecting that, weren't we?
Correct. And it was, some people might argue slightly better than expected because the forecast was anything between 10 and 12% drop in growth. It was 9.9%. Slightly better than the 11.1% where there was a consensus on towards autumn. Look, I mean, it's hardly surprising. And if we actually look into those figures as to which sectors actually grew and which sectors didn't, you would see that the services sector is still to an extent struggling. Exporters are starting to struggle now, even exporters within the manufacturing sector. Sectors that are actually doing well, subsectors, I should say. Food manufacturing is doing really well. The supermarkets, the big supermarkets are doing really well, and so on. And so, the message that again comes out of it, which is confirmed by the British Chambers of Commerce survey, and hopefully that is what we are trying to find out with the QES survey, fieldwork for which is currently open at the moment. Is what is the continued economic fallout is just part of the issue, but the more important thing is what is it that businesses are actually requiring help with. What is the outlook for employment? Those are the kinds of issues that we need to find out. So 10% drop in growth, which will probably 1.7 million people unemployed since the pandemic started, etc. So they're all in line with the forecasts. So I think the first quarter of 2021 is expected to be worse than the last quarter of 2020, and that is because of the current national lockdown, especially with essential retail now closed. Because in the fourth quarter of 2020, we had the month of October where actually retail and hospitality were Open hospitality had some restrictions in GM, but generally in different parts of the UK. And then November was a national lockdown. In December, we had a relaxation. Everything was open for a couple of weeks, and then the restrictions were imposed again. So you did have that boost because of that relaxation and the opening up. But we don't expect any opening up in the first quarter of 2021. So it is highly likely that those figures will look weaker compared to last quarter.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Subra. I'll ignore the cricket comment, but I'll allow you that one. But thanks very much, Subra. Again, explaining some quite complicated stuff very, very easily as well. And I think one of the couple of things really, I mentioned the quarterly economic survey. It is open now, so there is a link just gone into the chat box from Leanne. So if you've not filled it out yet, please do so. And again, please encourage colleagues and business associates to do so as well. Why it's important? It's important because it gives us a real insight and the first look at what is actually happening on the ground here in Greater Manchester, in the economy that we all work in and live in. And there's no other business survey that does that in such a way as well. Just mentioned there the government figures, the official figures for what happened back in December. Well, we're in February now. December's okay, but I'd really like to know what's happening here now or what may be happening in the next couple of months. The QES is a way of finding out what that actually looks like much, much quicker than any other government figures or anything like that. It's just important we do get those numbers completed. So if you can do, please do so and complete that. Subra, thank you very much once again for your insight and your time today on those subjects. And we will promise, hopefully sometime this year, we will talk about some good news stories for the economy. They're just few and far between at the present moment in time, but we will get there. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Thanks very much, Subra. We'll now move on to our second guest speaker this morning. It's Philip Murphy, who is a member of the executive team here at Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce. Philip, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. Excellent. And you're here to talk about skills for growth.
That's correct. Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Just want to explain a little bit about what your job role is, because probably a lot of people know you from various things that you do with the Chamber, but a little bit about your current job role and also skills for growth.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm actually now employed as a skills coach. So I started this role within the membership team early November. So I'm here this morning really just to give you an update on what the Skills for Growth programme is all about.
Okay.
So Skills for Growth was launched in late autumn last year, and it will actually run until June 2023. It's funded by the European Social Fund, and Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce is working in collaboration with the Growth Company to deliver what I think is a very exciting programme. It offers fully funded support, which includes one-to-one consultation, future-proof advice and guidance to make ensure that your business outsmarts any challenge. Skills for Growth works with business and employees so that it enables growth and change in Greater Manchester. It's designed to upskill existing staff, and it can be used to support both in-work employees as well as furloughed employees to help maintain engagement in their roles. Some of the sort of key headlines for the programme are: it works with business to identify current and future skills gaps. It works with individual employees to identify training needs to support the employer's growth ambitions and upskill for the future. We research and identify suitable provision on behalf of the business and the employees. And what we also do is we broker the relationship between the business and the skills providers. So there's a lot of research that takes place on behalf of the employer and the employees to make sure that the provision that they're receiving is spot on and correct. And I suppose finally, it helps engages business in wider GM skills initiatives, such as the Good Employment Charter and Bridge GM. Okay. So that's just a little bit about Skills for Growth.
Yeah. You mentioned there, Philip, that it is fully funded. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, good question. I think sometimes people get the wrong impression when they say fully funded. They sometimes think everything's free, and I think to use the word free can devalue the program anyway.
Yeah.
The engagement advisor and the skills coach offer their time to research the appropriate courses for the business and the individual employees. So really what you're getting as an employer is the time that the engagement advisor and the skills coach offer to this program. So what we can do is search the marketplace for the courses, qualifications that the company or the individual have expressed an interest in. They might be free, and where possible, we'll do our utmost to find a fully funded course. There are some out there at the minute that I've found, but I think it's important that the company is aware that sometimes they may have to make a contribution. And for any of this to happen, I have to stress that employees must complete what we call a business plan and employees an individual plan first. Once they've done that, then the skills coach can go away and start doing the research and doing the more interesting bit, which is getting the company signed up to a program that's going to help grow their business, or if it's an individual, to help them upskill, which in turn will help the business grow.
Super. What's the eligibility criteria for businesses who want to access the Skills for Growth program?
Well, this is actually quite interesting because usually there's probably a lot of criteria that businesses have to meet. For the SFG program, it's just the following two. So as long as you are an SME, that is a business that employs between 1 and 249 employees, and you're based in the Greater Manchester area, then you can access the Skills for Growth program. It's open to any type of business. So it doesn't matter what type of business you are in any sector, you can take advantage of this program, which, as I mentioned before, will run until June 2023.
Okay. And how do businesses access support from the program, and what's the process that they undertake?
Okay, so it's quite simple. First step is an engagement advisor will take some details and arrange an appointment. This can be done either via Teams or Zoom to meet with a skills coach. The engagement advisor will then onboard the client, send them details of the business plan, which they need to complete. The skill coach can then suggest programs that support the business growth ambitions and training courses and qualifications that would upskill their employees. Businesses and employees will receive support to complete the business plan and the individual plans respectively. And that support will actually last for a total of 26 weeks. So from the first day that the coach meets with the business, there is 26 more weeks of support. So it's not kind of like one meeting and that's it. It's very much about having regular updates with the business to make sure that we're keeping them on track. And if there's any other training that they identify during those 6 months, then our job is to make sure that we locate that for them and that they can start that training and obviously support their business, support their employees.
That's excellent. Philip, thank you so much for that. And again, it's good to hear from somebody that's actually involved in the day-to-day basis with delivery of some of these schemes and programs and whatever. And again, it's something that, because they do include furlough staff, it's something that is flexible, it's agile, and it has responded, hasn't it, to the circumstances that we're in at present. So it's really good. And you're finding the work good? You're enjoying it?
Yes, it is really good. I think it's like everything. There's a few months it takes to get into the role, but now I'm understanding what the role is about and piecing all the pieces of the jigsaw together. Yeah. It is really good. And it's great for businesses. It's great for individuals, and I'm finding a lot of businesses now from a number of different sectors are really starting to take advantage of it. So yes, it's definitely gaining some traction.
Superb. Philip, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. And again, there's a link just gone in the chat there, and also an email contact as well for people wanting to find out more information about the scheme if they're interested in picking it up and taking advantage of it. Philip, thank you so much for that. I'm now just going to hand over to Leanne for the next few minutes. Leanne, over to you.
Hi everyone, so I'm Leanne Gardner. I'm the Membership Events and Partner Delivery Manager, and I'm pleased to announce that the Greater Manchester Chamber is now partnered with Cyber Resilience Centre, also a not-for-profit organisation. We'll be working with the team to protect organisations within Greater Manchester against online crime. It is something we're really excited about, as it does apply to all businesses, and it is essential for safety, data protection, and even things such as scale-up opportunities for organisations. We have Grace Hulse, Head of Cyber Innovation for Cyber Resilience Centre for Greater Manchester, and also she's Detective Inspector at the Greater Manchester Police. I'll now pass back to Chris and Grace to continue. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Leanne, and good morning, Grace. Welcome to Chamber Live, and thank you so much for taking the time at present to come along and talk to us about the work at the Cyber Resilience Centre. Just want to explain a little bit about your role before we get into the work of the centre. Head of Cyber Innovation is probably a job title that probably didn't exist a few years ago. So, what does that actually involve?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm quite new to this role. I've only been in this role 4 weeks, and like I've been introduced, I am a detective inspector. So up until 4 weeks ago, I was embedded in the cybercrime unit at Greater Manchester Police, investigating cybercrimes that have been reported by small businesses were included in this. What we saw in Greater Manchester Police and in national policing was a rising trend in businesses reporting cybercrime that was having horrific and devastating effects on businesses. And nationally, we needed to do something about this. It's similar to how we've responded to fraud in the past. We needed to set up a national project to make sure that you guys were supported and that we had the appropriate resources to do this. And the only way that we could do this as police was collaborating with other agencies to be able to make sure that we reach this goal. So Police Scotland led the light on this and set up their first Cyber Resilience Centre for the whole of the UK. And it was really, really successful, really supporting SMEs and micro businesses and making sure that everyone was secure when it came to their cyber defences. Because of the success of this, it has started to roll out nationally. Greater Manchester, I'd like to say proudly, we're the second ones to take on the reins of this. And we've been embedded with our communities for quite a while now, which leads us to where we are today. We're at the point in Manchester now where we're releasing our memberships and services to really hold your hand and support you into becoming cyber resilient companies.
Okay, and what is that support? How does the Cyber Resilience Centre directly support businesses in Greater Manchester?
Okay, so there's quite an umbrella really of support that we can provide to people. And I just want to say that I am a police officer, so I'm not here to put a hard sell on anybody. My heart is in this, so I want to make sure that everyone's supported, and if we can do that for free, we will do. So the main thing that we do for free is our core membership. So any company can sign up to our core membership on our website, and that really is your foot in the door for us to start supporting you. And with our core memberships, you'll receive emails, access to webinars that are all relevant and topical as to what's going on. The main different thing that we do in relation to the communication we can provide you for free is because of our collaboration with the police, with myself and Neil Jones, who's the Detective Superintendent. We can provide you real-time updates on what is the current threat. What is the current threat to your company? And I'll come on to that in more detail later, but I know what the current ransomware strains are and how that is going to affect your company, how that is going to penetrate your security systems. I know the latest mechanisms for a DDoS attack or any attack on your infrastructure because it's being reported to us on a weekly basis. So with that knowledge, we can really help provide the businesses of Greater Manchester with the information they need to make sure they're secure. And that's reflected in our webinars as well, really, just so we can go into it in more depth. And we just want to give you as much information as we can to make sure it doesn't happen to you and you don't become one of the victims that we see on a weekly basis.
And that link between the Cyber Resilience Centre and Greater Manchester Police is very close, obviously. And I suppose you're a good example of that, where you sort of foot in both camps, delivering that frontline service and support to business.
Yeah, we work very, very closely with Greater Manchester Police and also with our local businesses like yourselves, with being strategic partners. And we work with education and the universities to help us deliver some of the paid services that our company does as well. So I have, like you say, my foot in both camps. So even though I'm the head of the Cyber and Innovation Centre during the day, I also am working for the police at the same time. So I have weekly meetings with Greater Manchester Cybercrime Unit. I am an ex-employee of Greater Manchester Cybercrime Unit. I also have links to regional policing and cover the whole of the Northwest in an advisory role. So it really is hand in hand, and we're very close. And it wouldn't be successful otherwise. It has to be a team approach in tackling all the growing trends in Greater Manchester.
Mm. One of the questions we sometimes get from people when you get into this is, well, why would I as a business want to improve my cyber resilience? Why? Because it's almost like this sort of it'll never happen to me scenario. Mm. So what would you say to those people? Because I'm sure you may get that from people time to time.
I'm passionate about this side of cybercrime, and I'm forever banging the drum really to get this message across. And all I'll say is cybercrime is a very invisible threat to most people. One day they'll be running a successful company, the money will be coming in, the staff will be happy, everything will look and feel like it's very healthy. They'll leave work on the Friday feeling that they're successful, and then they'll come in on the Monday and their business will be gone. For example, a new strain of ransomware will rip through their security systems and all their data will be encrypted and they'll be left with nothing. They won't have the banking, they won't have any customer details, everything will be gone. And I have seen too many times businesses, regardless of size, be absolutely destroyed and being unable to function as a result of cybercrime. And it's easily preventable most of the time. If you have the right cybersecurity in place, it won't happen to you. And that's the message we want to get across. It's most of the time can be quite low cost or even free to implement these processes. And it will stop you becoming one of those victims that I have to go and visit. And it will stop you becoming that and seeing the devastating effects it can have.
What sort of cyber attacks go to businesses? I mean, are we seeing different trends now beginning to appear? Because we obviously mentioned ransomware quite a bit, but I should imagine there's a broad range of other threats to business. And at times like this, when everything's all a little bit up in there and Brexit, and we've heard already, haven't we, about all sorts of things going on, are businesses more prone at this time to these types of attacks, or could it happen anytime?
Yes, definitely. And I'll be honest, it's been harder to spot the trends because of COVID and remote working. It's the trends, or the volume of work has massively increased in Greater Manchester and across the Northwest when it comes to cybercrime. The trends have become more complex. So I know we've already mentioned ransomware, but ransomware put my teeth back in. Strands have become very complex and interesting in the last couple of months in relation in correspondence with COVID. They're getting far more harder to solve, and to get a company back up and running is becoming harder, and we need to be more knowledgeable when it comes to this. We've seen the likes of DDoS attacks, so denial of service attacks, become more prevalent. Because your company is more reliable on being online, it means that you're more of a target for people that want to do this kind of thing to you. If people want to take your website down now, or your internal services down now, it would mean that you can't function, whereas before you still had the capability of sitting in the office. So we have seen that increase as well. Another thing is criminals have been taking advantage of knowing that all your staff are working at home, some of them with exceptional knowledge in relation to cybersecurity, some with none. And they will be using phishing emails in relation to COVID vaccinations, or ones pretending to be from the CEO of the company asking to change the payment information and stuff like that. So they've been really thinking about ways to target the whole of the company. So from the lower end in relation to phishing scams, which most of the time can be easily identified, straight through to knocking your complete internal and external IT infrastructures offline. So it's been interesting as a police officer to see the way it's changed, and the volume of crimes has ramped up in relation to this area. But it's also been quite scary to see the hole that some businesses have in their security. And I believe if you don't approach your cybersecurity holistically, then you do leave yourself wide open to these threats and this type of cybercrime.
Okay, thanks, Grace. And one final thing, anybody out there that wants any information or whatever, there's a couple of there's email address and the web address in the chat box. But I guess don't put it off till tomorrow if you need that conversation today.
Yeah, we really want to help. We do really want to help. So please reach out to us. And also, if you need to reach out to the cybercrime unit at the police as well, then just give us a call and we'll make sure you're supported as best as we can. Okay.
Thank you very much, Grace. There's a couple of interesting comments. And again, one from Power about, makes you think, imagine if your Gmail, Microsoft account, Dropbox, MailChimp were hacked and lost. It's when you put it bluntly like that you suddenly realise what impact that could actually have. Sometimes when you've just not got the internet access for half an hour, people tend to lose their minds, don't they? Just imagine if you lost all your data and all your business on it as well. I can't imagine what that must feel like. And again, Subra sits on the expert group of the Cyber Resilience Centre as well, and he obviously strongly recommends businesses to get in touch again with that. Grace, thank you so much for your time. Must be really busy at the time, and it's great to talk to you today and just explain a little bit more about the work of the Cyber Resilience Centre, your work as well, to find absolutely fascinating and slightly worrying as well, to be quite because,
I don't mean to scare people.
No, I know. Well, this is it, and I think anybody that understands this stuff realises that it's a real threat, and don't think it'll never happen to you, because it can do, and it may do, and we need to be vigilant against that. So thank you very much for that. And obviously, we are working very closely in partnership with the Cyber Resilience Centre, because again, it's part of that whole picture, isn't it? And we were talking about this just before we went live today. We're talking about everybody getting the economy back up and running again. We've focused a lot, on for example, getting laptops and mobile devices to children that can't get into school or one thing and another. How do we keep those people safe when they're online as well? It's important that we think about these things, and make sure we cover all angles on it. Yes, we do want a strong economy, but we've also got to make sure that it's one that's as safe as possibly can be as well. So Grace and her colleagues there at the police and the Cyber Resilience Centre playing a part in that. Thank you very much. And that concludes our Chamber Live for today. Thank you to all our speakers. Covered a huge range of topics there, everything from filling out VAT forms for exporting to the EU, finding out how you can benefit from the Skills for Growth programme, programme, and also perhaps as well a bit of a call to action really about making sure that your business is safe if it's trading online, and how you can prevent major disruption to that going forward. Couple of other notices. This time next week, it'll be our fortnightly Chamber networking event. The events brief is out later on today, so look out for that dropping into your inbox, and it's got all the details of that event and all the rest of the events that we're running at present. An awful lot going on at present around Brexit and new considerations, new processes, new procedures. Look out for those on that. Another reminder, please complete the quarterly economic survey. It is so important we get the accurate voice of business, the views and the concerns of businesses. And also this week, we've got our Disruptors event as well, looking at the businesses that are disrupting Greater Manchester in a positive way. That sounds a bit bad when you put it like that, but it's good disruption. There's bad disruption and good disruption. This one is definitely good disruption about new types of business and what they're doing. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for all our speakers. Remember to stay safe, both online and also out in the real world as well. We've got all the details in the chat box of some of those events, and I look forward to speaking to you all again in a fortnight's time for our next Chamber Live. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.